And welcome to a VSA Capital video blog, which is a bit of a special update on the trip that I did to Mexico in August 2025, when I visited four mining companies, mainly involved in gold and silver. But I went and visited Avino, Sierra Madre, Luca Mining, and Guanajuato Silver. So this is a very quick update on all four of those. I've got with me my colleague Ollie O'Donnell to help me with the questioning. Ollie obviously understands these things a lot better than I do, being my head of equities and our mining analyst. But hopefully you find all four interviews, they're quite short, informative, and a good reminder of why it's still right to look at these mining equities, because we're only at the start of the bull market. Once you've had the interviews, we'll maybe go into that in a bit more depth, but let's get on with the interviews now. Okay, so the first of the companies I visited was Avino Gold and Silver, up in the sort of towards the north of the country. And great to see you again, David. David Wolfin, the CEO and president of Avino Gold and Silver. I'm sure since I left, you've been having a great time. Nothing to do with me leaving, but mainly because obviously the silver and gold price have gone ballistic. But you've also done something quite significant, really, since I visited you. I did see the start of it, and in fact even went into it. But you've obviously opened up your new mine and shaft, La Preciosa. I probably pronounced
Yes,
that. I apologise. But so, how's all of that going?
fantastic. So we got our permits last year. We had all the equipment ready. We did our first blast in April, and by Q4 we were pulling out mineralized material. It's not called mining material; it's development material. So we have to put in the different levels and ramp down and prepare the veins for mining. But they're nicely mineralized, and we got a pleasant surprise on La Gloria. It's opened up. So it's opened up wider than we expected from the drilling that Coeur did before us. And so that's changed our perspective. And now we're going to do a different style of mining, which will be lower cost. It's called long hole mining. So, yeah, we're really excited about that.
No, that's really good news. Well done. I'm really pleased it's going well. Ollie, what's your question for David?
Hi, David. Look, your cash position just keeps on getting bigger. I know you raised funds for La Preciosa, but it was 24 million at the start of the year, then 57, and then 100 most recently. So you just going to keep reinvesting in the assets you've got, or is there a bigger plan emerging?
No, we're just reinvesting in what we have. We're using a disciplined approach to organic growth, from going from one producing asset to three within 5 years. So we're adding our second asset now. We've also retained the services of an independent engineering firm to consider reimagining something larger than we expected. But that will be later this year. We will be able to say something on that. But our current plan is to go from a junior producer to an intermediate producer within 3 to 5 years. There's a void there because Gatos, Silvercrest, and Mag are gone. So there's no intermediates right now that fill that void. And so that's why people are so excited about our plan.
Excellent.
Maybe just one final quick question, actually. I know it's more than I said we'd do, David, but politically in Mexico, it all felt pretty stable when I was out there last summer, but there's been a few sort of rumblings, obviously, because of President Trump heading sort of towards the south. Any concerns there at all?
Well, we just have a low profile. We keep to ourselves. We're not involved in the politics down there. We just run our operation. We produce concentrate. It gets hauled to the shipping port of Manzanillo and goes over to Asia, and Samsung uses it in their electronics. But I think with what Trump's doing in the U.S., it's happening across the globe. People are now thinking about critical metals. Silver's critical. Anything that humans use is critical, but especially silver. And we've got a lot of it, over 300 million ounces of it. So we're excited about the future for silver.
That sounds good. So we've got to ask the question. We've seen the silver price obviously go ballistic at the back end of last year, carried on at the start of this year, had the wobble on that Wobble Friday or whatever you want to call it, but now seems sort of pretty stable around $75 to $80. But firstly, how do you sort of see it over the next 12 months? If you have a view, or are you just sort of, we're happy wherever it is?
Well, we're happy where it is now because our margins are through the roof. Our costs are below $25. So, if it can maintain where it is now, we'll be very, very happy. And so will our shareholders.
That sounds great. I'm hopefully catch you at PDAC, and I hope you have a very successful PDAC. I'm sure you're going to be in demand for people wanting to see you, David.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, that was a great chat with David. But now we move on to our next guest and the next company that I visited when I was out in Mexico. And it's Alex Langer, the CEO of Sierra Madre. Hi, Alex. How you doing?
I'm great, gents. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're pretty good. We're looking forward to hopefully seeing you at PDAC. But let's just fire off a couple of questions that we want to ask you since my trip last summer.
Sounds
Ollie,
great.
I'll let you go first this time.
Hi, Alex. Look, you've had a busy start to the year. Made a new acquisition, or making one, and hoping to replicate what you've done at La Guitarra, taking something you bought from 35 million, turning it into a $400 million company. Next acquisition is 60. So clearly the objective is the same, and you're also buying it from First Majestic. But what do you think are going to be the key differences in unlocking value in this new project?
Yeah, so they're similar in the sense that they're both fully permitted, they're both fully built mills, and they both have exploration potential. Del Toro is a much larger facility. It's 3,000 tons per day as opposed to La Guitarra, which is 500, but we are moving that up. So I think the size and scale of the potential at Del Toro is different, just in terms of the facility and what's already there. I would say La Guitarra on the surface is higher chance for exploration success, just because of the East District and the amount of, historic mining that occurred through the colonial times. See some of that at Del Toro, but Del Toro, I would say, is more of the area. A lot of CRDs, lots of other really big projects like La Colorado from Pan American, just to name a few. So we have potential for CRD deposit at Del Toro, whereas we're going to have these higher grade kind of vein scenarios that we have at La Guitarra. So similar scenario, fits in really well with our thematic of, de-risk through being permitted, already having a facility, and the ability to turn it on quite quickly. So they're pretty similar, but a little bit different at the same time.
And right. Alex, since I visited you in La Guitarra, you've done quite a lot of upgrading, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. So when you would have came in the summer, we were just in the process of raising a bit of capital. That capital is intended to use for expansion as well as exploration. So we raised 19.5 million. We announced today that we have now fully installed our cone crusher. So we're just doing test work there. But the plan is to go from 500 tons per day, which we're running now, up to 750, 800 by Q2. So in the next, kind of end of June, so a few months away. And then we'll do a second expansion that'll bring us up to hopefully 12 to 1500 tons per day by Q3 of 2027. So, maybe 20 months away. So both are on track. It's gone really, really well. If you had gone back in December, you would have saw the cone crusher being installed, but that's pretty much operational now. Waiting on another ball mill. We purchased that. It's just being refurbished in Chihuahua, which is not too far away. And then we've also started the civil work, the groundwork for the paste backfill facility, which will allow us to put about 700 to 750 tons of waste material back into the underground. There's a lot of old stopes. There's about 50 kilometers underground tunnel. So lots of room down there as well. And it's all on track here for end of June of this year.
And with all that you're doing, it's not just a throughput increase. You've got a mine plan that's going to bring in much higher grades and optimizing the plant so you get a recovery boost as well.
Exactly. So it's all part of it. Just as a reminder, we started commercial production on January 1st of 2025. We hadn't done much underground development to get to that point. So the price of silver at $30, it made a lot of sense to push forward right away. So we're doing all our development out of cash flows, and we're continuing to do that. We're getting close. I'd say we're maybe a quarter away from having fully caught up in the underground development at La Guitarra. Same with Nazareno and Colosso. Those might take a little bit more time. But what we're going to be able to do is make sure we have enough material and high-grade material to feed the mill constantly, and when we're getting there. So La Guitarra, we're comfortable, doing 500 tons per day just from that alone, and then the rest will come from Nazareno, Colosso on a small scale basis, and then as we move up to 12 to 1500 tons per day, we'll kind of have the 3 full centers operating, so approximately 500 tons per day from La Guitarra, and then the other 2 kind of split evenly, 500, 500 if we get up to 1500 from Nazareno and from Colosso. So it's all coming. It takes a little bit longer than you had hoped, but today's price it's great. We're really quite fortunate to be expanding when silver, today's anything above $60 is incredible. So we're pretty thrilled. We're just moving along and trying to do it as quickly, but as you got to make sure you're doing it in the right way as well.
So Alex, you sort of touched on the final question, which we're asking everybody, which is, where do you see the silver price in 12 months' time, or are you just happy it stays where it is in this sort of $75, $80 range?
Yeah, I would love to see a bit of consolidation, to be honest. I think, we testing new highs, all-time highs. It takes a little while, like people's perception of, high silver price. It's got to become, I don't know, not quite the lexicon, but the norm for silver. And if we could sit around here, 60 to 90 and up and down for the next few months, I would be really, really happy with that. Once that happens, you build a new base and then it can retest new highs. And I think it will. If we look at the amount of industrial use that is increasing with solar panels, EVs, it's still the thematic for silver hasn't changed at all, and it's still growing. The uncertainty, with tariffs and whatever else might be happening and various wars that gold and silver I think will continue to climb. So I think we're sitting in a good place. Personally, I'd like to see it consolidate a little bit, sit around a few levels before it tests another high, because that's what a lot of investors like to see and like to look at. But I think it's just a start. I would not be surprised if we're comfortably above $100 an ounce in 12 months. To put a number on it.
Cool, Alex. That's great. We'll catch up with you at PDAC, Alex.
I look forward to it. Thanks a lot for taking the time, guys. All the best.
Well, that was an interesting chat with Alex. And now I'm pleased to say we've got Dan Barnholen, the CEO of Luca Mining, that I also went out to visit last summer. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Good. So my first question to you really is that what we're seeing at the moment in Mexico is quite a lot of acquisitions. And certainly it was one of the things that I discussed with your team when I was out there visiting you. And I suppose the question is, are you still keen to try and do an acquisition? And also bearing in mind some of the issues in different states around Mexico, which have different sort of risks. If you get another acquisition done, would you want it in the same state, or would you perhaps want it somewhere else in the country?
Yeah, so we're still very much focused on acquisitions. We would love to bring a third asset into our portfolio. We think that we've demonstrated a capacity to turn operating assets around. We've taken the 2 in our portfolio. We've added capital, we've added operational expertise, and we've added an exploration team, and we've had a great deal of success on all of those fronts. So we continue to be very active in scouring Mexico for a third asset to bring into our portfolio, whether that's an operating asset or development stage project to be determined. We're open to both. And obviously, yes, I mean, that's an important question that you raise. Obviously, there's been some fairly newsy and tragic events unfold in Mexico, but it's important to note that that each state in Mexico, very much like every province in Canada, is different risks, different opportunities. We're very comfortable in the 2 states that we operate. Guerrero has been good to us. We're an integral part of the community that we operate in Guerrero, and the same can be said for where we are in Durango. Mexico has some real problems with the cartels, and those are topical, and we think about them every day, all the time. And our employees, our team, their safety is the most important thing to us. I do not want to have to make phone calls to our employees' families. With that said, we think that for the vast majority of mining operations in Mexico, they are safe. The employees are safe, and we operate safely, and we operate as respectful members of our communities. And so, it goes without saying that the first thing that we look at when we are looking at an acquisition is the safety of the jurisdiction. And so there are some states that we would rather not go, but the vast majority of the states are safe, and we continue to operate 2 mines without incident, and we expect that to continue. So, we're cognizant of developments. We're cognizant of security. We focus very much on security. And when we are looking at M&A opportunities, that's the first question that we ask is, would we ourselves go to those sites? And if we wouldn't go to those sites, we won't ask our employees to go to those sites. And we certainly wouldn't be looking at acquisitions of assets in those areas.
But more specifically on Luca, I think when Andrew was on site, the drill rigs were turning, and you've had some stellar exploration results since then. 135 meters at 1.58 grams a ton gold and 0.88% copper, as well as some lead and zinc. I think you'd been happy with 135 meters with either the gold or the copper. And then your latest release shows how you're going to bring that sort of into the make those drill results real, as it were. So can you talk us through that? Because upping the gold and silver content and the gearing to precious metals has been a key factor, sort of focus for you.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And so we recently put out some news about the intercept that you just referenced. It's very important to recognize that the intercept that you just referenced was drilled from underground. So it is the underground development required is already complete. And so that is going to, that long intercept of higher than resource grade material, particularly on the precious metals front, that's going to feed immediately into our mine plan. So what that does is it bridges a gap from now until we start to develop into the Reforma zone, which is the higher grade precious metal zones to the immediate northeast of our current mining areas. So as you guys are obviously aware, underground drilling adds immediate resource to our existing mine plan and can be accessed from current underground working. So it's very important that we have success both from surface drilling, which we have had a great deal of success over the course of the last year at Campo Morado. But what the underground drilling does is it adds the potential to immediately start to mine into these zones where we are making impressive discoveries. And we're very excited about that news that we just put out, because it's not tomorrow, but it's very quick to add to mine plans, probably as soon as later this year.
Excellent.
So finally, Dan, we're asking everyone the same question. It's not as applicable to you, but it's, we're asking, where do you see the silver price going, or are you happy with where it is? I think for you, you're a much more multi-commodity company. So maybe we should just phrase the question of, commodity prices have risen nicely. As an example, silver around the $75. Where do you see commodity prices going in the next 12 months? Or are you're really happy at this level and you want to just carry on as we are?
Hey, we would be thrilled if we can average $70 silver and $4,500 gold through the year. We would make an incredible amount of money. from those commodity prices. Obviously, we still thrive at lower commodity prices. Just for context, I mean, we are doing our budgeting work at silver prices that are half of where they sit today. So, it's incredible that we see silver prices here. We do produce in excess of 1 million ounces of silver a year, so we are taking great benefit. But it's our second most important commodity. We're in order. We're gold, silver, zinc, copper. In fact, we're one of only 2 companies that is a member of both the GDXJ and the COPX. So that diversification is something that we find to be of great benefit to us and to our shareholders.
Dan, that's great. Really good of you to jump on with us. And we'll see you at PDAC, and it's going to be a lively one. And lots of people who want to talk to you, but thank you for joining with us.
You bet. Appreciate the interest, and always happy to give you an update.
Well, Dan was on very good form there, Ollie, wasn't he? It was very lively.
Anyway. Yeah, well, it's not hard when prices are like this.
That's true. Now we're going to move on to, certainly not last, but certainly not least, one of our favourites, James Anderson, the president of Guanajuato Silver. James, how are you?
Very well. It's easy to be very well when prices are like this, as Ollie specifies there.
Now, this is just a quick update, but obviously, again, as everyone knows, we came out and visited you, all 4 of you, last August. An amazing trip. And as I was wandering around with you, James, visiting your numerous sites already, you did somewhat hint at the fact that maybe you'd be doing an acquisition of another one in the area of Guanajuato City to fully consolidate the whole area and actually also be able to consolidate some of your process plants and that sort of thing, which should have a major impact on the company. Well, you've gone ahead and done that. You've also done a big fundraise in order to do it. In fact, you did the fundraise first before the acquisition, which is quite a smart thing to do, I think. But, how's that all gone? What's your view in a quick sort of snapshot? Tell us what you have to say.
Right. Just a little corollary with, from what Ollie was saying, the price of the precious metals have gone considerably higher, especially silver in relation to the price of gold. After the Bolanitos acquisition, 95% of our revenue comes from precious metals, and about 55% in total comes from silver. That's significantly different than a lot of the other, central Mexican silver companies, where a lot of their revenue comes from, as base metals and perhaps doesn't hit the bottom line quite like ours. You're quite right to point out our acquisition the Bolanitos mine. It is now our most important mine, right in the district of Guanajuato, and we purchased that from Endeavour Silver. We closed the transaction on January 15th with a headline top-line number of $50 million purchase price, which I think in this new pricing environment, Andrew, it can only be looked at as getting a bargain for Guanajuato Silver. So, and then, now and for the last, really even before we closed the transaction, as you alluded to, we put one of our 3 processing plants in Guanajuato on care and maintenance. We've got 3 processing plants, and I think we only just need 2 to process all of the material from the various mines in Guanajuato. So that consolidation will continue for weeks and months ahead. We have a lot of work in front of us to be able to do that, correctly and professionally.
And when you bought these assets, first of all, one of the criticisms that the market gave you was that you only had short mine lives. Yet here you are, 4 years down the line, and you're about to start a massive drilling program. So clearly that's trying to address that issue. But from what does technical success look like in this upcoming drilling program, and what do you want the market to take away from the results as they start to come through?
Yeah, let me try and answer that in a multi-phased way. I think that the market is correct in asking that question, right? Because a lot of times, if you're comparing our assets with other types of assets, either geographically or geologically, you'll have a longer life, mine life established by the resource. Conversely, all of our assets are really long lived. Like the poster child for that is Valenciana, which has been in production most on and off, but mostly on for 450 years. So, and if we stick with Valenciana as a theme, we just put out a new mineral resource estimate several weeks ago, which established a 630% increase in our inferred resources there. So our drilling activity and our exploration has continued apace for the last several years. But have we done enough? No, I don't think so. Money was tight a couple of years ago to be able to do that, and therefore now we can announce much more comfortably, Ollie, a 75,000 meter drilling program for the company as a whole, and we have right now drills turning on four of our properties, and that will continue apace through the whole year.
So it's all looking pretty good for you, really, James, which is great news, by the way. So the sort of final question we're asking all of you, and it tends to bring a smile in everyone's face as well, is where do you see the silver price going? Or are you basically just happy as long as it hangs around $75 because at that level you're making a lot of money?
So, we've suffered. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that, silver was having a tough time getting past $30 an ounce. For all of the good reasons, all three of us, I think, have been very bullish on the silver price. And I think, finally, that belief is given some credence in the marketplace. These prices are fantastic. $75 is great. I do chuckle about people wanting the CEO of a silver mining company to give a prognostication of the direction of silver. Of course, it's going higher. What other? Our director of communications, JJ Jennings. We often joke in here, especially during the big ramp up several weeks ago or a couple months ago. We kept saying to each other, silver is going up every day for the rest of our lives. So obviously, that can't happen in the commodity business, and it's going to have to stabilize. I don't know that we're at a price where silver stabilizes for all of the reasons that you gentlemen know and understand very well. Only 25% of silver comes from primary silver mines. The demand for silver has outstripped supply for 4 years. I don't see that changing anytime soon. The industrial demand for silver is enormous, as is the monetary demand. So I don't know where that equilibrium price is. Certainly the market has to take a pause here right now and digest the news and the movement in the commodity. But I'm still bullish. I don't believe that we've hit an equilibrium price for silver just yet.
I think that's a great answer, James, and it's always good to talk to you. And we're looking forward to actually catching up again more at PDAC, which I'm sure will be a very busy one for you. And we can discuss how silver goes up every day. But thank you very much for just popping in on this. It's been great.
Indeed. Thanks so much for the opportunity, guys. We'll see you in Toronto.
Okay, well, I thought that was 4 pretty interesting interviews, Ollie. I mean, obviously, they were all smiley, happy, and upbeat. How did you feel it was?
I thought it was really interesting to hear, the changes that have happened over just the last few months only, and the marketplace has also changed. David was absolutely spot on. Some of those natural mid-tier producers have been taken out, so these guys really are the next level of producers down from the majors. And if you look back to what happened in the big bull market of the 2000s, First Majestic, which is what they all want to turn into, that started off with a handful of small projects in Mexico and has built itself into a silver behemoth. And it can be done when you've got a commodity tailwind like you have at the moment.
Yeah, and I thought what I found interesting talking to them was it very much tied in with my theory of a sort of a 5-phase bull market, and that is that the first phase of it is that the precious metals and things go shooting up, and they go shooting up. But the later on in the other phases of the bull market, equities catch up, because even at $75, these companies are making so much free cash flow, and the equity price isn't pricing that in yet. It takes quite a long time for the market to realize, God, at this level, they just print so much money, the stock should be significantly higher. So it tied in with a lot of my theory of a sort of a 5-phase bull market, and we've just finished the first phase. People who want to know more about that need to give us a direct call, don't they, Ollie, to find out even more, or catch us at PDAC, and we'll tell you what the other 4 phases are. But I think it tied in with that as well, didn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And we published recently on Sierra Madre after their deal, and our analysis showed that that's trading at, or was trading at, around sort of $40-45 an ounce long term, even at the intraday top above $3 a share that it recently hit. But if you look at 2011, when that market topped, miners were being discounted on a 5% discount rate. They were trading at a premium to NAV, and they were trading on long-term prices that were far closer to spot than they are today. This change has happened, so the structural change has happened so quickly that the equities just haven't been able to price in the new prices that we're in, and what that means for cash flows.
Yeah, it'll be great to catch up with all 4 of them actually at the event itself. It's interesting also because, of course, it was at this time last year at the event that I was planning that trip and thinking silver is going to go ballistic. Need to get out to Mexico and understand it all. So my timing was pretty good, helped by you, Ollie. You did introduce me to the companies and say, I think this is where you should go, Andrew. Of course, this time at PDAC, I'm going to be doing the same thing, not for Mexico, but for somewhere else, and getting another group of companies that I think could explode towards the end of 2026, and I'll be planning that as I go around PDAC, inviting myself to go and visit certain companies, shall we say. So we'll see how that goes and let people know where I'm going this August, as soon as we can. But on that note, I hope everyone enjoyed this. If they want to meet the companies or learn more information, then obviously get in touch with them directly, or get in touch with us through VSA Capital, myself, Andrew Monk, the CEO, or Ollie O'Donnell, our head of equities and mining analysts. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.